Joining me now to talk about Senator Tommy Tuberville and his hold on military nominations is Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger of Virginia. She's a former CIA agent and a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I want to start with something you said, because you said our adversaries are cheering Tuberville on because he's, quote, jeopardizing America's military readiness. We've heard others make this point. Give us some specifics, having served and knowing the national security landscape, about what specifically it's putting at risk.
Well, I'm a former CIA case officer, and I can just imagine that, be it in Moscow, Tehran, or anywhere else in the world, that there are foreign adversary nations and their leadership and their intelligence officers looking at the very reality that one singular senator is able to stop the promotion and the appointment of, at this point, more than 250 members of our military, including the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and that there is no foreseeable end in sight. And by the end of the year, the Pentagon says that that's going to be more than 650 positions. I think that it is real that foreign countries are recognizing that one person can absolutely put to a screeching halt the progression of military careers, and importantly, can stop positions, vital positions to our national security, from being filled.
Now, one of the questions a lot of people who don't know all the functions of Congress have is, how is this even possible for one senator to halt, to so significantly delay these confirmations? I know you've said there could be a workaround, there needs to be a deal struck between Schumer and McConnell. What are the other options, and what do you think the most likely resolution is?
So what is typically the case, what is supposed to happen, what has always happened, is that the Senate will bring forth all of these potential promotions. They will pass by unanimous consent, which means they proceed on the floor of the United States Senate without any controversy, because historically it hasn't been controversial that we, the United States Congress, be it members of the United States House or members of the United States Senate, would want military leadership in the positions across the country and across the world that they are needed to serve in. But Tommy Tuberville is able to stop this process, this unanimous consent process, from moving forward. And that is what is kind of creating this chaos. The reality is that he has the ability to stop it tomorrow. He could just stop. These could move forward as unanimous consent, as has been the tradition and the history, and we could go back to having a United States Senate that is focused on ensuring our national security. What I want to see happen is I want every single Republican senator to tell him to knock it off, to stop it, because frankly, while, presumably the Senate could vote on every single promotion, the reality that would be the workaround, because indeed one senator is standing in the way of our military readiness. The fact that we even have to consider what workarounds exist because of Senator Tuberville is in and of itself pretty shameful and ridiculous.
Would you be for getting rid of this requirement that promotions need to be approved through the Senate, which is part of the holdup, and we could be in this cycle again, unfortunately?
I mean, I think the reality is, if you look at the tradition and the background of what's occurred, it's been that they move before the United States Senate. There's unanimous consent. They move forward, because having leadership in our, top ranks of the military previously hasn't been a politicized or partisan issue. If the United States Senate, or in particular one senator, is going to stand in the way of having military leadership in the positions where they are needed as a regular obstructionist activity, then yes, perhaps we need to reevaluate the whole process. But the reality is the process shouldn't have to change because there is one man who is behaving so egregiously poorly. I represent Quantico. I represent tens of thousands of military current active duty service members and veterans. I was in Prince William County in my district yesterday, and when speaking to a crowd, I said, how many of you are Marines? How many of you are veterans? And half the room in that county raised their hand. And I said, this is where we are right now. The reality is there's no commandant of the United States Marine Corps. And the number of people who spoke to me afterwards and said, I cannot imagine what it would have been like to serve in the Marine Corps. Many of them served in active duty positions in active war zones, in infantry positions. What would it have been like to serve in the United States Marine Corps knowing that there was no commandant, that there was no leadership because of one United States senator? It's creating it's politicizing the military in a way that is dangerous, and it is impacting our military readiness in a way that is just deeply irresponsible.
Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, thank you for your service. Thank you for providing a lot of clarity to all of us.